My name is Jaden Wooten, and today I'm going to teach you one of my favorite tricks to use in the economics classroom, which I've named the ping pong ball factory manager. It's very simple, and it actually can be implemented by just about any instructor at any university. I use this during Principles of Economics, usually with a class size of about 200, but it could work with any class size up to about 10 or 12 as a minimum. I also use it in my sports economics class, and I've heard other instructors use it in their labor economics class, intermediate microeconomics class, or any class where you use some type of marginal analysis. This project is most likely used during marginal production, but at the same time, I've done other videos where using a similar technique, a food eating contest can be used to show diminishing returns with marginal consumption. But this is specifically used for marginal production when students begin to have a hard time figuring out why inputs don't result in the same level of output as we add more and more. So the process of how it works is typically using a clicker system, so a clicker remote or one of the turning point technologies. I simply start off by asking the class, if I have a student deliver ping pong balls back and forth from a bucket to a box, and we keep adding one worker at a time, what's going to happen over time? And then how many workers will generally result in the highest number of ping pong balls delivered? Some of them get it really quickly and they think they know, and they say an answer like 4, which is usually too low. The answer is usually around 7 or 8, sometimes 12 depending on the method that you use. Others completely don't get it and they say things like 25 workers. So it works out nice in that going into it, they usually don't have an understanding of diminishing returns. So what materials do you need? It's actually very simple. You need a box, right? So I use an empty paper box from our copy room. It's very simple. That's what the students will deliver to, the ping pong balls to. I also purchased a bucket from a local hardware store, which is a simple bucket. I think it costs about $2. And then, a little difficult to see, but from Amazon I purchased something almost all college students are familiar with, ping pong balls. I did not purchase the quality ping pong balls because I don't want them to steal them. So they are the cheapest ping pong balls available, very cheap because most of the time people will step on them, drop them. I don't want them to steal them. It cost about $6 for I think 90 of them. So overall the cost to the instructor is very low. You need a box from your supply room, maybe a bucket, some ping pong balls, so you're looking about maybe $10. I do give bonus points, roughly 1 to 2 percentage points of the class depending on when they volunteer. I ask for a volunteer to come down. I consider him the manager, him or her the manager of the firm. Their goal is to deliver ping pong balls from this bucket of ping pong balls into this box. I usually set them roughly 20-25 feet apart. Sometimes I include stairs because it makes the students slow down a little bit so they're not running all over the classroom. They have to deliver the ping pong balls back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Give them about 1.5 minutes to do it. Sometimes a minute depending on the size of the classroom. I play some inspirational music like Rocky, trying to get them going. The class usually gets really excited because they have no idea why this person is running around. The student delivers the balls back and forth, back and forth. They usually, in 1.5 minutes, they usually get about 20. But again, it depends on the setup of the room. At that point, I allow the student to add new workers, and I usually let them pick their friends, mainly from people who are volunteering in the class, because again, I want people to volunteer for it. The earlier you volunteer, the more points you get. So if you're the very last person that you decide to use, they're not going to get nearly as many points as the first person. One key thing about this game, though, you cannot allow the student to change the technology in the middle of it. So, for example, if they decide to do an assembly line and pass the ping pong balls to each other, no matter how many workers they add, they always have to pass the ball. Sometimes what a lot of students want to do is they want to kind of make this circuit where they run in a line with 2 people and then 3 people, and then on the 4th person they want to do the passing. That doesn't work. That's a change in technology. So I kind of give the guy a warning in the beginning, and I say, look, whatever you decide to do, if one person is delivering, it always has to be a circle, a continuous circle, no passing of the ping pong ball. If they decide to pass it, they're free to throw it to each other, hand it to each other, but it has to connect to everybody. So don't allow them to change the process as they go along. What's actually really nice is sometimes if you have enough time, I actually allow the running, and then I let them switch it, and I start all over again, and I let them pass it, so we can look at what happens with total production. What ends up happening is the circuit has a higher total production. However, diminishing returns still sets in at a similar time and after a similar number of workers. So after the results are done, as I go along, I tally each person. So I put the person's name and I say how many ping pong balls they delivered. I put the next person, how many total ping pong balls the two of them delivered. The third person, how many total ping pong balls the third person delivered. We work through, we calculate the marginal. I keep it very simple and I say, what if each ping pong ball represents $1 of revenue and it costs you $8 to hire someone? Would you want to hire this worker? Would you hire this worker? So we get into the marginal analysis, and I think the hands-on approach really lets them see as we add more workers, it becomes more difficult. It has always happened that somebody bumps into each other when they're running in the circle, or as they're passing it, they drop it. The key thing with the dropping it, if they drop it, I tell them you can't pick it up, it counts as broken. And so what happens is as you talk about that chain of people passing a ping pong ball, eventually it's most likely to drop and it's going to break. So we can start talking about why diminishing returns actually occurs. We graph diminishing returns, they can see what it looks like, and it gives them a real hands-on approach to figuring out why inputs do not continually increase production. At some point it's going to decrease. So that's the knowledge base that I hope that they learn from the material. In my evaluations, typically they say that they love that assignment. Maybe it's because they get to see their friends just running in circles, but I really think that that helps sink in the knowledge of what is diminishing returns, how does it work. Typically what I do a week later is I follow up with the infamous Swiss cake roll eating contest, and we talk about diminishing returns in consumption and how diminishing returns doesn't have to be in terms of just production. It's not just an input and an output. You can use food as an input towards utility as an output. So even in consumption, we experience diminishing returns. So I think it makes a nice link between the two. They're able to understand marginal analysis a little bit better. It's very easy for an instructor to implement, very cost effective. It'll cost you under $10 and usually just a handful of bonus points.